Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are we good?
All right, this is Team Two's presentation. We are the standards 4, 5, and 6, and these are our Team Two group members. Standard 4 works with curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Standard 5 is community of care and support for students, and Standard 6 is professional capacity of the school personnel. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper into each of the standards. We're going to start with Standard 4.
Standard 4 actually addresses how educational leadership aligns and actually focuses on the curriculum, instruction, and assessment to actually promote different things within the school. But the question is, how do you measure them? Some of these are qualitative, some of these are quantitative, as you can see. But the goal here is to use this particular checklist of using, for example, following through with making sure that the school and this leader is promoting the mission, the vision, and the core values of the school, academic standards, as well as, most importantly, allowing children to develop a love for learning. Within that, we also want to make sure that we understand our why. Why is this information important? We want to make sure that we are focusing on the student success. We want to actually take a look at this well-being overall for not just the students, but teachers as well. And school performance overall, if we make sure that we're succeeding academically and ensuring the well-being of all students, then the school should, in fact, perform well as a whole.
All right, and for Standard 5, what does this standard measure and why is it important? So Standard 5 measures the effectiveness that an educational leader, how they can cultivate an inclusive and caring as well as a supportive school community, which will promote academic success and the well-being of each individual student. We do this through the culture of the school with all of our stakeholders and a true understanding of the whole child. Why this is important: we want staff and students both to feel safe. We want them to enjoy coming to school each day, to ensure that students are valued, they're respected by not only their peers, but their staff as well. For students to have their learning needs met, both looking academically, physically, and encouraging students to be their best self. Help support social and emotional development for all the stakeholders involved in the school community, as well as reinforce positive engagement in schools and to be culturally inclusive as well as relevant.
When looking at Standard 6 and what it measures and why it is important, Standard 6 measures the effectiveness of our educational leaders in developing the professional capacity and practice of school personnel, including all staff, to promote each student's academic success and well-being. So we do that through looking at recruitment, hiring, providing support to our teachers and our staff, encouraging their development and growth, and encouraging retainment. So we want to, instead of having a high turnover rate, we want to keep our teachers, we want to keep our educators, we want to keep our nurses, we want to keep everyone in the building. They provide opportunities for effective induction and mentoring, so doing those new teacher programs, developing the staff's personal knowledge through encouraging professional learning, empowering and motivating the staff, and encouraging teachers to take on leadership roles, engage in self-reflection, and maintaining a healthy work-life balance. Why is this important? Because not only do we want to provide support for our students, but we also want to provide support for our teachers. This will help to create positive working conditions. It will also help us to effectively allocate our resources so that We know what's going where, what's for curriculum, what's for Title I, what each resource is for. We're also going to construct appropriate organizational policies and systems based on those state, local, federal policies, and engage in deep and meaningful work outside of the classroom, which is going to have a very powerful impact on what happens inside of the classroom.
All right, so we then discussed some strengths and weaknesses with each of the standards. The first standard, of course, dealing with curriculum, instruction, and assessment. The strengths that we came up with were: it models and embodies high expectations for student learning. It supports culturally responsiveness, which helps with student-centered approach. It aligned with standards and curriculum that are state standards that we have to teach that provide a clear framework for educational goals and for educators to follow. It focuses on data-driven practices to inform the instruction and assessments that occur in our classrooms daily. And it focuses on the equity, where it stresses the need to implement a curriculum that is inclusive and meets the needs of all of the students in the school. Three challenges that Standard 4, or that was created because of Standard 4. It ensures authentic and personalized student experiences for all students in extremely diverse school populations. Another challenge is the use of effective pedagogy in classrooms with new teachers that lack formal education training, such as those that were not educational majors to start with the beginning. And it also a lack of necessary resources such as non-professional development gaps, funding, resources, and materials to implement strategies to effectively meet the needs of all students.
So when we looked at Standard 5, which was the community of care and support for students, some strengths were teacher leadership opportunities, staff incentives with the PTA and PTO, good news club, getting the community involved, social media, social emotional learning curriculum, and then backpack buddies, community organizations, food bank, high school, elementary connections. When we look at the three challenges of community of care and support for students, we see that we have the complacent and negative staff can result in a high teacher turnover rate, which affects student support. We can also have a poor school culture. And when we look at the inadequate training or support can hinder teachers' ability to differentiate instructions for students.
We're looking at Standard 6, the professional capacity of school personnel. We're looking at for the strengths of leadership styles in schools. They're teacher empowering, they collaborate, and they share in the decision-making process of the school. Initiatives are implemented to focus on continuous improvement, high levels of professional practices that motivate teachers and leave them feeling more empowered and they want to do more. Mentoring programs are put into place for new teachers, and coaching is in place for the veteran teachers. Some of the challenges of professional capacity is that you have small candidate pools of highly qualified teachers that keep up with the teacher turnover rates. There's a lot more teachers trying to come into the field now that have no experience or their lateral entry. So it makes it difficult to find what you need. Another challenge is lack of funding for the professional development that's needed to promote the skills and higher effectiveness in our teachers. And there's also often a lack of balance in personal and work life for teachers and administration, which causes severe burnout.
So as a whole group, we decided to come together and think about all of our 6 individual schools and how we would rate ourselves in each of these standards.
For the first one, Standard 4, the rating that we gave was a proficient, and then some of the artifacts that addressed or helped with the needs of why we picked it as proficient is our school report card and the standardized testing, and also EVAS.
For standard 5, we looked at our family night, the attendance logs, how administrators are keeping track of different emergency drill logs and the safety for those students, our PTA and PTO activity, as well as family teacher conferences, an active PBIS system within the school, and social media accounts communicating a positive culture to all stakeholders.
So when we looked at standard 5 as a whole, we gave it our schools a rating as proficient as well.
When we looked at standard 6, we gave our school a rating of proficient. Some of the artifacts that we were able to use to support that was the beginning teacher programs, which provide mentoring and buddy support, the school's retention rate, and the systems that we use for hiring, like Talent Ed and Sarah.
We believe that all of these standards come together to make the school run as a whole, as well as some of the other standards that the other groups had. But we had the opportunity to come together, reflect, and share as to how we can be better leaders in the future.